Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and greetings. Today, on behalf of our pair group here, we would like to give a presentation on the speech analysis of Dr. Mahathir Mohamad in terms of sociolinguistics. Now, to begin with, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, a legendary figure in Malaysian history, is a Kedah-born intellectualist who, in his early stages in his life, he studied in medicine in King Edward VII College in Singapore, and he held numerous ministerial roles throughout his career as a politician, and he had the chance to serve in 2 terms as the Prime Minister of Malaysia, one of which from 1981 up to 2003, which is, as we may already know, is the one he established big companies such as Proton and Berdua maybe, and then on the second term, which is from 2018 and 2020, which is under the banner of the Bersatu Political Party, especially before the COVID-19 hits. Now we will begin the analysis of his speech, which is starting with the key socio-linguistic concepts. First of all, what we managed to make out from his speech analysis is that he established, he showcases the concept of language and power. The relation between language and power basically means that certain languages or the way, context that you use the language actually has a sense of power in itself, especially when you are trying to establish dominance across a huge amount of audience. Now, he establishes dominance by relaying a one-way communication as the speaker of the UN General Assembly, as well as he is speaking English. As we already know, English is the main lingua franca whenever we are heading on an international setting. So at that point, the language English itself has a sense of power as the dominant language. This is as evident in one of our video that we use for our research. And the sentence that we quoted from his speech is that the use of language there, I bemoan the fact that small countries to be at the mercy of the powerful ones. So that was a message we can see if compared from the rest of his sentences. What he said right there is in a tone of seriousness and establishment of dominance right there. Moving further, he also showcases the linguistic variations concept, as we can see in the first video that we have interviewed, which is the Al Jazeera interview video. His speech is far more relaxed and it contains a lot of fillers, signifying the different context, which is he uses his language. And in that position, we studied 2 videos. The first is his speech during the UN General Assembly, which is, of course, as you already know, requires him to be far more formal. But in the interview, he was far more relaxed. The sentence that we quoted that he said is that for the relaxed one, for the first video, he said, number one, of course, he was involved in some scandals, including accusation of stealing money from the government. So a lot of fillers are there, is evident. And then in the second one, which is the formal setting, is that we need to maintain control of our destinies. We can see that he did not showcase any filler, his tone is perfect, and his pronunciation of English is absolutely super. Moving on to the next section by the next presenter.
Okay, so now next, moving on to the social linguistic elements. We encounter 2 social linguistic elements. First are the politeness strategies, and next is the register. So for the politeness strategies, we can see that Dr. Mahathir is in the second video, which is the speech, he used politeness strategies for showing respect and not spoiling the communicative environment. So right here he said, I would like to join others in congratulating you, and I commend the Secretary General and all the staff of the United Nations. So right here he revealed the politeness through recognition of others' effort. So next for the register, we can see in the first video that we researched, it is the Al Jazeera interview. He used an official register that could be characterized as formal, authoritative, but at the same time politically diplomatic. So right here he said, when I came back, one of our promises was that we will honor the separation of power between the legislative, executive, and judiciary. So right here, when we see the chosen words that I use, we know that it is formal for the register. So So for the SDG relation, Dr. Mahathir speech aligned with the SDG of 16, which is peace, justice, and powerful institution. So right here, you can see he addressed to the United Nations General Assembly, emphasized the world issues, advocating for international cooperation and stronger institutions. So right here, you can see the correlation with the SDG 16.
Moving on to the next session, which is of course method. As I have mentioned before, I have to give a little bit of clarification based on the research. We mainly conduct our research through internet searches to search for Dr. Mahathir's speeches and interviews. And in this interview, as I mentioned before, we took into account two samples of videos related to Dr. Mahathir language use, which the first one, of course, being the interview by the Al Jazeera Corporation. The second one is his actual formal speech from the United Nations 73rd General Assembly. Now, as you can see, those are the references that we took into account when making our research study.
So, based on our research, the conclusion is our study of Dr. Mahathir's speech highlight the powerful role of language, establishing authority, connecting with people, and advocating for change. So, by examining the use of language, we know that we can see how he managed to control the tone. Depends on the situation, whether it is in the public or towards the reporter. So, by learning this, we can know how to control our language to the society. That's all from us.
Alright, thank you. Okay, questions? Do you know?
Yes.
The figure?
Yes.
Yes? Questions?
In your research you study, do you use specific speech, the speeches of him, or you just take a look at generally the way he speaks or giving?
It's from the two videos that we
Okay, any more questions? One more?
Do you think the way he speaks is unique, like to audience, so like only he speaks like that, just like the
Yes, I believe the way that Dr. Mahathir speaks is very unique on his own. The very choices of his words, especially when he speaks in English, actually mirrors his level of education, which is actually different even from other prominent Malaysian figures, such as we can see maybe Datuk Dr. Sri yeah, the previous Prime Minister Najib, his use of English a little bit far more lacking compared to Dr. Mahathir, and I believe his also specific choice of register, even when he was speaking informally, was extremely unique for him. He always went out formal and very respectful to the conversation.
Okay, any more questions?
Can you give like an example of the unique points of the way he speaks?
So, as I already said, the main unique point of this speech that captures my attention is the way the word he actually used registers, to be more specific. The choices of words in his speech. He actually preferred to use a far more. His choice of word is not actually complex. He did not went for far more ubiquitous or alien kind of words that not all of us would not understand. He preferred to use words that are quite formal and enhanced to be incorporated. He uses elaborative speeches in order to elaborate his points rather than divulging into far more abstract form of language. That is what I noticed is quite specific to him. So that's what makes him unique, I believe. That was the unique point of his speech.
Any more questions? Yes.
Can you imagine he with us right now? The way he speaks, he is still all right.
Yes. I believe in your given context, which is if he was with us right now, which is I believe the setting would be quite semi-formal or quite informal because as you can see our number is not really that many. So I believe his conversation will be far more close to the first video that we researched, which is the Al Jazeera interview. He uses a very relaxed tone, a lot of fillers. However, his choice of words were very informed, very collected, and it was very beautiful.
Any more questions? And I think you have to remember the topic that he's speaking on also contributes to the word choice that he's using. Like for example, if you notice, right, when he's at the UN, he uses the word need, or in a way must, right? So you have to think about the models that are being used. Should, have to, need to, must. What does it actually connotate? Whether, that's where you actually talk about language and power. You want to impose, you want to impart that power that you have with the word choices that you use. Okay? Alright, thank you. Let's go.